We are officially now recording, ladies.
How are you?
Hello.
How are you, ladies?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is that Eileen?
It's Lane,
It's
yes.
Lane. It's
Yes.
Lane. Okay. Well, I'm Andrea LB. I am my name that I use in the industry of entertainment because I do a lot of event planning. I do the recording, the engineering, the music programming, the engineering for Detroit Hot Radio. I also have one show that I do produce. It's called the Carissa Yvonne Show. What else do I do? And also a graphic designer and also a music manager. I have too many hats. I have a few shows that's coming up in a few months. Hopefully, it was supposed to start last month, but it didn't happen. So, and I was referred to Miss Tina to do the engineering for you guys' show here.
Yes.
So what I'll be doing is just basically producing and marketing to all of the different social media platforms. I explained to her that I have a new system where I can just do them all at once instead of gradually doing them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be easier for her to continue with her show instead of having each one or whoever is going to be the host navigate your microphone and the camera. So
And you know, I wanted you to share briefly also. I just didn't invite you just to tell about that, but what your show is going to be about on domestic violence. Can you give us a little bit of that?
well, yeah, my show that was supposed to start last month is called Wine and Lust. It is basically for it's supposed to be a group of 4 women, including myself. One of 2 ladies that's already in the industry, and one of a profession, perfectly a doctor of mental illness. Because I am a domestic violence victim, or was one,
Yes.
and because it's a serious issue that I noticed that a lot of girls go through, and what I have been gone through and what I've seen in person, and almost got into the same situation because I just, after my situation, I couldn't take it anymore. And I know there's a lot of young women who still go through it now because this pandemic has gotten worse. Excuse me one second. Grandson, can you close the door? Grandson, can you close the door? I'm on the phone. Sorry. I've been blessed with my grandson during this pandemic. So grandma won't be left at home. So there's a much blessing. But my show is basically for not just women, because I needed to be more broader. So it was basically for children and men, because I know there are some men out there who go through domestic violence as well. So that's what basically my show is about. But it's also to produce inspiration, a relaxation, is going to introduce a wine of the month for of my show, each show that I produce.
Okay, thank you for sharing. All right, let's get a little small introduction from everybody right quick, and we're going to start up ministry, miracles, mental health, and medicine. Let's start with Dr. Sabrina Black.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Sabrina Black, and I've been in the field of mental health for the past 25 years, servicing the greater Detroit area and the world. I'm also a full-time missionary and humanitarian. I get a chance to travel throughout the world, and specifically to Africa. And I do a lot of work in the village areas, ministering to people there who are in great need of assistance. Locally here in Detroit, I have a private practice. And in private practice, I service clergy and lay leaders. I work with executives, and I work a lot with women and families. And so in those areas, I focus on anxieties, depression, stress, burnout, you name it, I do it. When I look at addiction, some of the areas I focus on dealing with addictions are sexual addictions, also looking at gambling addiction, and then the relational problems that stem from substance abuse. And so I am right now currently doing telehealth so that I am still currently available to minister to anybody who is in need of help. And Blue Cross Blue Shield is accepted. So there's a lot more to be said because I do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats. I'm also a professor, I'm a minister, I'm a discipler, I'm a published author, and it goes on and on and on. So I'll let somebody else share and you'll hear more from me later.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Dr. Black. Let's see, Islaine, are you ready to share your experience and say a little small testimony?
Yes, I am. I have about 20 plus years experience as a case manager. I am also a spiritual life coach, a licensed clinical social worker. I have a private practice out in Florida called Restore You. And to hear your testimony, the reason why I opened up my practice is going to be about 5 years now since I've been in private practice, but I've been working under other people's licenses for about 16 years. And I am also a survivor. I don't like to call myself just a survivor, but a restored woman from sexual assault, completed and attempted rape. And so that's the reason why I initially went into private practice to focus on the domestic violence piece. But after years in the practice, it branched out. So I do specialize in women's issues in general. I also work with adolescents and teens, family counseling, marriage counseling, and I do group counseling as well. And when it comes to the ministry, for about 7 years, I've hosted different prayer calls. I'm also part of Black Women Networking organization to help Black females entrepreneurs build up or find their dreams of where they need to be. I am also fluent in Haitian Creole. So I do work within the Haitian community as well to try to really get them engaged and aware of mental health, because the reality is there's still a lot of stigmas when it comes to mental health in the Caribbean. And so that's a global piece that I truly want to focus on. I've traveled to Haiti, many different countries. Of course, my parents are from Haiti. And so that is my passion as well, to work in that community, because domestic violence has increased since the pandemic. We will see that the crime statistics has gone down, but that's because people are not reporting, but actually it has increased. And so I am just honored to be here with each and every one of you this afternoon.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for sharing, Islaine.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That is a great testimony as well as experience for that target population. And they really need you to survive, because there's some cultural sensitive issues that will not allow you to share and report. And you are carrying the word, and you're doing a very good job. Thank you so much, Islaine.
Thank you.
Well, Tara, are you
Hello,
on?
everybody.
Come on and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Tara Ray, and I am a licensed professional counselor currently living in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I am from Michigan. I have worked with children and families for about the last 28 years, professionally in counseling for 10 years. I love working with children, so I have two jobs, I say. My day job, I work for the Public Mental Health Agency here in Georgia, and I service primarily children, some of which are dual diagnosed is what they're called. They have developmental disability or are on the autism spectrum, and also another underlying mental health disorder. Also, I have a private practice here where I'm doing telehealth right now in Georgia. So if anyone is in need of assistance in Georgia, please, I'm available to assist you. I also specialize in trauma. That is really my passion. I am one of those past abused children that seem to get forgotten. And I am just here to assist anyone that I can. I'm so happy to be here. I thank you, Dr. Tina, for thinking about me. And I am looking forward to whatever we're doing.
Wonderful.
Well, Dr. Tina, please share a word about yourself.
Well, I guess I'll say a little bit about myself. I've been in the field for over 25 years. I'm an expert in addictions and trauma. With the proper information and revelation, we can change people's situations. And I feel like as therapists, we should be strategically positioned as first responders. So I believe that whatever you master determines how God will use you. And I've mastered in addictions. I've mastered in trauma. I've mastered in going into severely deprived areas. I'll give you a good example, like Fifth Ward in Texas. These are some of the things that we provide from a whole person approach. So I'm just not looking at therapy as therapy, but I'm looking at the whole person. Yeah. So information, revelation, and changing people's situations, because not only do I have the professional license to counsel, but I have the gift to counsel. And when you have the gift to counsel, you can do it with your eyes closed. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a professor. I have 7 books. One of them is Traumatized, a Restored Man. And the reason why I deal with men, because when men are out of place, women are misplaced and children are displaced. So as a therapist, I know that 72% of the men are not in the home in Detroit, Michigan. And someone has to take control. And in this book, it gives you all the tools to be able to be a man in place and not be tied to the ties that bind. Yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Black. I just wanted to share that. And I do have a private practice, and I'm doing telehealth as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I know we were scheduled to do Friday Focus, and whatever day of the week it is that people might be watching, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this information will be helpful, and this information can definitely make a difference in your life. And so as we talk about the traumas that people are dealing with right now, especially during COVID-19 and really beyond, because we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how long people will be sheltered in place, but there are a lot of issues that people are dealing with while they're at home. And so we want to be able to address some of those concerns and speak life to those of you who might be going through, and speak life to those of you who are ministering to other people. And so we're trusting that the things that we share now, the things that we share today and the days to come will make a difference in your life and the lives of the people that you know. And so Dr. Tina, I know we have a lot of different topics on the table. What do you want to start with today?
I want to start with domestic violence. I was on the call the other day, and one of my clients would not go on the video because of the ability to see her face. And she said, Dr. Tina, I can't come on. She said, because unfortunately, I have a black eye. And right now, we're having a very large increase in domestic violence, up to 70%. These people are not getting along because they've been alone at home with somebody that they didn't even know about. They don't even know who they are. They're sleeping with the enemy, Dr. Black. And it's unfortunate that it takes a crisis to bring out this type of situation, because a lot of people are getting hurt. As a matter of fact, a young lady just killed her boyfriend last week. Wow. So it's imperative that we get information in what we call some type of information dissemination, so that they can better deal with crisis and live with the person, not only just existing, but actually have the space that is needed between them until they get healthy enough so that they can dwell in the same dwelling together.
You know, a lot of people are talking about the fact that they're excited about being sheltered at home, and they're getting all these things done at home, and they're getting to spend time with their children and their spouses. But for everybody, that's not a good situation. There are some people who need it for their spouse to go to work and for their children to go to school, just so that they could have some free time, some time where they didn't have to be traumatized and thinking about everything that they were having to deal with. And now that people are sheltered at home and in place, sometimes that is not a good place. There is not a sacred space there to get away to. And you can only lock yourself in the bathroom too long. And if you're in a home with someone who is violent, they may tear the door down. You know, and we can't tell people stuff like, well, just don't make him angry, just don't set him off, because it's not about setting off the person or making the person angry. You know, domestic violence is not about anger. It is about control issues. And when people are dealing with domestic violence, they are out of control, literally. And the truth is, we've always been out of control, but I think COVID-19 is magnifying the fact that you are not in control of where you go. You are not in control of the weather. You're not in control of going to work. You are not in control. And so what's happening is the tension is building for those people because they are not in control. And so they're pounding and beating and acting out in ways that are damaging to their wives and to their children or to their girlfriends. You know, I think about just these young people even who wanted to shelter in place with their boyfriends and their girlfriends and now want to come home. because of what they're having to deal with. And so we need to talk about some tips and tools that will help them be as safe as possible, because everybody can't get out and get to a shelter. The shelters are packed. Everybody can't go to their mama's house right now because their mama's house is not a safe place. And so where can people go and what can people do? Islane, Tara, if one of you can speak to that.
Go ahead, Islane.
Okay, what I want to talk about when it comes to domestic violence, a lot of times people just focus on the physical violence, but we also have the sexual assault, we have psychological and emotional abuse as well.
Yes.
And the reason why we see the numbers are rising, you touched on it, Dr. Black and Dr. Tina, is because people are realizing, I don't know this person. I don't love them. I don't even like this person that I have to deal with. So not only do we have the psychological abuse happening, but what we have now is those who were not perpetrators are now becoming perpetrators. Those who were not victims are becoming victims. And so we see that if the domestic violence was focused on the psychological, emotional, and verbal, it has now escalated to sexual assault and serious violence. And then it creates the emotional pain in our victims, because guess what? Now they're having to battle the domestic violence that they're going through, and then the trauma of, if I call 911, my perpetrator may be incarcerated. And we see that what's happening with incarceration, there's an increase in COVID in the prison. And so they're not willing to report. And so that's why it's imperative now for us to reach out and give the information, because a lot of times we focus on just the victims. But the reality is we need to focus on the perpetrators too. So in order to help them, we have to give the information to them to let them know that we're offering telehealth services. We're offering telehealth services to help them deal with their own emotional issues, emotional pain, anger, and unresolved issues that come from, other issues, maybe even their own childhood trauma, and having to be in a place and isolated and not being able to get out. And so we want to be here to help both perpetrators and victims and let them know there are resources for both of them.
I'm glad you shared that, Islane, because there are different types of domestic violence, and it's important for people who are watching to realize it's not just if someone slapped you or pushed you or kicked you or did something physical to you, like gave you a black eye. It is the name calling, it is the yelling and the screaming and the shouting. It is the putting you down and saying derogatory things about you. It's all of that. It is making you have sex when you don't want to have sex, when you don't want to be touched. It is withholding money and trying to make you buy things and you don't have enough funds to go around. So we're talking about financial abuse and sexual abuse and emotional and mental abuse. We're talking about physical abuse. There are lots of types of abuse, not just physical. And everyone in the house needs help. It's not just the woman that needs help. It's not just the children, but it's also the man. And I also want to be clear that it's not just men who are violent towards women. It's women who are violent towards men. And so if you're a man,
like 800,000 men are in a position where they are being abused. So being a person that deal with men and addictions, a lot of men have not reported. And unfortunately, because of that, you may not find out something until Channel 7 News come on. So it's imperative that we give men the information to be able to better manage their households. And, there's some reasons why men do get in these situations. Sometimes women marry them for what we call security. And in crisis, that's when you find out really the person that you married, because once the job is gone, which, as we can see, our world systems have collapsed and we're not working. And if he's not working, if you married his profession, then guess what? Once the job is gone, then you're gone emotionally and what? Physically, you're not there. So basically, when a man finds out that you're not into them and there's a false, what I call start, that means that you can't end well. And what the problem we have in the African-American community when it comes to relational issues, they don't know how to end nothing. They don't know how to leave nothing, and they don't know how to end nothing. Did y'all hear me? So if you see that there's a core to this relationship that's causing the problem, then it's time for us to come in and deal with this now, because they have to be in the house. And once they get this information, how they respond to it is very important. So in a crisis, this is when it comes out, I really don't like you. I really just got with you because, you know, my bills was due. My other baby daddy left me, but because you had a secure job at Ford Motor Company, I made that choice. So we got to understand that this plays on the victim as well as the perpetrator. So some of these assaults are what we call is not justified, because I'm a domestic violence expert.
Yes.
There is some underlying issues that trigger
Yes.
the perpetrator as well, and we have to be able to provide these type of services so that we can deal with them, so that they can get help and heal. And one thing I want to just say this: you cannot counsel a person on domestic violence together. That should be done separately.
So
I want to touch briefly on this as well. This is where telehealth comes in handy, because we have both perpetrators and victims who are ashamed to be seen in person. And the benefits of telehealth is not only does it offer video conferencing, it offers the audio piece. And so it's also important for us to be culturally sensitive as well. Some Caribbean folks, and that is my passion right there, Caribbean folks will never come in. And that's a piece that I offer. It is rare and hard to find therapists that are from the Caribbean or culturally sensitive, you know, and have an understanding. So what I bring, I usually say, from counselor to victim to survivor to a restored woman. And so I do, you know, take great passion in working with both the perpetrators and of victims. And as you stated, Dr. Tina, we cannot work with them together. That puts the victim in an unsafe situation. After that counseling session, what can happen is the violence can escalate, because the perpetrator, be it male or female, whoever the perpetrator is, they can feel in that counseling session that you took their power and control away from them, but by putting them to shame in that counseling session.
And that's why
I hear from Tyra for a moment. I don't want to cut you off, but I definitely want to give Tyra a chance to jump in and say a few words.
I didn't know you was trying to get in.
No, that's okay. I think what I was thinking about is there's more incidents of just conflict in relationships now too that does not rise to the level of domestic violence. And in those cases, I've been encouraging my clients who have significant others or who are married to definitely join on for some couple sessions. And in those sessions, we talk about building appropriate boundaries while you're in. We talk about not making any major decisions like one or the other party leaving during this pandemic. There are other things that come up. We talk about financial issues that might be causing a strain because someone's been laid off, or, you know, and the other person now feels like they're pulling most of the financial weight. I actually had someone tell me that they didn't believe they believed their significant other was selfish because they kept going outside. But this person had an underlying anxiety issue. So we had to talk about that.
Very good.
So there's just so many different factors that are going on during this time, and having people to just reduce the underlying level of anxiety first can help them then start to see what the real issue is. It could just be, I'm anxious. So I had one telling me, well, she's mean. I said, no, she's anxious. You know, it's anxiety that's coming to the forefront. So being able to help them through and to actually be able to give them the opportunity to label exactly what's going on, it's really helped with a lot of just the general conflict that has risen also when people are just being caused to shelter in place together.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, I think that the things that we're sharing, ladies, are definitely going to serve to give people hope, because it helps them realize that somebody is aware of what they're dealing with and what they're going through, that they're not alone. And so before our time runs out, we want to make sure that not only do we give them hope, but that we give them help as well. So if each person can just share one or two things that you think would be helpful for someone who might be in a domestic violence situation. Let's start with you, Elaine.
Okay. Communication skills is very important. And so by reaching out for help, we can teach communication skills just as Tara says, for conflict. It's also important to know the different resources. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available. 211 is available. So I just want to let you know there's nothing to be ashamed about. You're not the only one going through this. And as experts, we're here to help you through this emotional trauma and psychological trauma that you're going through. Know that there is help out there, and do not hold on to the shame and guilt. We are here for you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Dr. Tina?
Well, I would like to say that the main objective of what we're trying to do is move the person from shame to healthy shame.
Yes.
And we know that the scripture says specifically, hope maketh not ashamed. And most of the time in a family that is dysfunctional, which is 72% of our community, what goes on in my house stays in my house, right? So because there's no exposure, there's no healing. So it's imperative that we get it to someone on the hotline. Yes. Go to a crisis facility, get you some help, share, get you an accountability partner, and expose it, because exposure brings healing. Once we get the information, we can better facilitate you, your family, because 50% of the time, if you married a perpetrator or you have a live together partner, 50% of the time he's gonna hit your children, or he's gonna be verbally, emotionally abusive with them. So it's imperative that we stop this cycle right now, and we're here to help you.
Great. Tara?
And Dr. Tina, I'm so glad that you mentioned that most of us operate from this, what happens in my house stays in my house.
Yes.
But what I've been teaching some of my clients, because it's very important, is the difference between being vulnerable and being naked. Yes. You can share enough to be vulnerable and learn the lines so that you're not naked, which nakedness is what typically brings the shame. If you're just vulnerable and sharing and making sure that you're keeping yourself safe, someone can help you and teach you the difference between the two. Most people don't get embarrassed until they're naked, if you think about that. If you're just vulnerable and sharing, there's no need for shame at all. So get with someone that can help you. There's no need for us to die while we're sheltered in.
Amen.
Thank you so much for that. You know, I know that we take vows. Go ahead.
You got to share a little bit. Let us know what your approach is to this.
I know one of the things too is that people take vows that say, "Until death do we part." You know, and I know you want to stay "Until death do you part," but you also don't want to kill each other in the process. You know, and people often wonder, well, why does she stay? Why won't she just leave? There are a lot of reasons that women stay.
Yes.
You know, sometimes they stay because of the shame. Other times they stay because they don't have the financial resources to go somewhere else. A lot of times people stay because they love him. You know, he's not bad all the time. You know, it's just that when he's bad, it's real, real bad. And so people stay for a lot of reasons that people don't understand when you've never been in that situation. But we want to talk to those who are staying. Do know that hope is available, help is available, and healing is available. You don't always have to be in this situation. This too can pass. And everybody that's on the line here is a licensed professional. Everyone here has their own experience of things they've walked through. This is not a place of condemnation. This is not a place of judgment. We are here to help you, to walk with you, to provide resources for you. So begin to journal, begin to document what you're going through, put some music on, change the atmosphere in your home. Definitely, if you're a spiritual person, spend some time in prayer and know that God does hear you and God does see you, and he will come down and he will intervene. So hold on, get help. We're here for you. Tina, if you want to have the last words as we close out.
Very, very good, Dr. Black. I enjoyed that. I would like to just say to the global people out there that's out here trying to get information, you can only go as high as your relationship, and who you choose to love determine your destiny. And right now, a lot of us have chosen people that we love, but we may have not been in love with, and we have to deal with this properly. So I just wanted just to say to the ones that are in the situation and need the tools, we want to provide life support. We want to give you an online lifeline, and this is my lifeline, 855-948-1661. You can call and we can get you the help that you need. And we want to get the services going right now, because how you respond in crisis is very important. And every 3 seconds, someone goes into eternity. It is not worth it. Death is permanent. Young people, stop choosing people that's going to victimize you. There are signs when it comes to domestic violence. This excessive texting, control issues, this is not cute. So to the ones that are out here in these live together situations, it's time for you to get the information and get the help you need so that we can have a good exit that you won't hurt yourself. So I just thought I'll bring that out. And my website is exitwithdrtina.com. Thank you. And we can just go to each one of you all and you can just share the type of services that you provide.
Yeah, I think that the quickest thing to do, I think we mentioned this before, that all the counselors are listed with Psychology Today. And so if you want to just look all of us up, you'll find us there. You'll find Tara Ray, you'll find Islaine, Dr. Sabrina Black. But look us up online on Psychology Today, and you'll be able to find us there. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm sorry, I would like to say something. I am under Restore You, that's Restore You with a capital U. And I also wanted to say, you all touched on for those who want to stay, but for those who are wanting to leave their domestic violence situation, leaving is one of the most dangerous time for you. So please reach out to a professional. We want to give you safety tools on how to exit.
Absolutely.
We want you to be safe when you're exiting. And so thank you all. It has been a pleasure hearing you all speak today.
All right, take care. Go to Psychology Today to find all of us listed there. Take care.